You must have heard of the term quiet quitting. It's when an employee is so done at the workplace that he or she just does the bare minimum needed to stay employed and not get fired. Well, latest polls conducted at European organizations
I know a lot of people that work this way.
have revealed that one of the major reasons men have been slowly quiet quitting is because of women. Yep, you heard that right. Guys have
Me too.
anonymously revealed that they're totally demotivated to work hard now because they either have female bosses who don't know how to run departments, or they have female colleagues who only create unnecessary drama at the workplace. I'm sure thousands of men have faced the consequences of being with women who have made false allegations against them, ruining their image and reputation, and essentially their lives by making them unemployable in their industries.
It's the horrible thing is they never get any type of pushback. They never get any type of laws or consequences thrown at these women for just making these allegations. Even when these allegations come to light that it was a false allegation.
All of that leads to men quiet quitting at work, barely doing the minimum, knowing that whatever they do, they're only going to land in trouble because of their female bosses or colleagues who are masters at playing office politics. Truth is, men aren't just quiet quitting women at work. They're doing it in real life. Why wouldn't they?
He said it right. Office politics. Women are very, very good at this. They're very good at, character degradation, spreading rumors and all these things. Men are not good with this, and we just don't usually do this in general. Women are so good when it comes to this political landscape of the workplace. They dominate by the things that they do normally.
Why quietly? Because they have seen men get lacerated publicly for saying what's on their mind. So they just quietly check out. No one's business but their own. Men are afraid they're going to get fired. There's research that was conducted to evaluate the effects and consequences of the MeToo movement a couple of years ago. It found that men are becoming noticeably less willing to approach their female peers in the workplace. According to the report, 20% of men avoid speaking to and interacting with female coworkers privately.
20% is a lot.
A third or more of men stated they would be terrified to be alone with a woman in the study's primary research, which questioned men how they would feel if they were in the office alone with a woman. Why? Well, the main reason is that they just don't want to be in a situation where they're framed for any sort of allegations against them by the women.
And the thing is, we know that not all women are bad. We know that not all women are doing these things. But it literally destroys a man's life. So men are just risk adverse. So we rather just not deal with it. We don't want to know if you're a good woman or not, or a good coworker or not. We're just too scared. Losing your livelihood, losing your job, losing your career, and then getting blacklisted for all these false allegations. Most men can't get back in. Most men can't pick themselves back up because they can't get a new job.
They don't want to lose their jobs over some women. And it's pretty easy for women to have a man fired from his job these days. It's just one email, call, or conversation away from and with HR. Men will always be guilty in the eyes of corporate authority.
Not even that. There's some HR that are actively looking for this and telling their employees and telling the women out there, oh, did this happen? If this happened, then we can put allegations against this person. And they're pushing women to do these things too.
Nowadays, until you can prove your innocence, you are guilty. Men are most afraid of this. God forbid, if a woman even alleges untruly that a guy harassed her at work, that man will lose his job and any chance of getting another employment in the future, along with his reputation and self-esteem. That is the enormous...
We have one of the greatest examples. Johnny Depp, one of the most powerful, one of the highest end movie stars possible, has been blacklisted from Hollywood. The only thing he's ever made recently is like a small movie. He's no longer making big blockbuster movies. He can't because they won't hire him. And it's all been proven that it was all false, that he lost a finger, and that she shit on his bed. She was still somewhat almost in another movie until they finally got enough backlash to remove her.
Advantage that women have over men at work. Therefore, it should come as no surprise that 21% of men said they would be reluctant to hire a woman for a job that needs an intimate connection, like traveling for business. 19% of the males responded that they would be reluctant to hire a woman who was deemed attractive by social norms. This was the result of a survey taken from employees working in a variety of businesses. The survey also noted that similar surveys taken in the past did not garner similar results. In the previous surveys, men were more comfortable interacting with women in office settings. Previously, 15% of men compared to 21% in the later surveys indicated they would be less likely to recruit women for positions that demand close interpersonal interactions.
And this is actually hurting women overall. Less women are getting hired because male bosses don't want to deal with it. Less women are getting trained properly because male bosses don't really want to properly train them. They're getting a lot less experience because their normal coworkers don't want to deal with them. This is a shitty thing for women, and women are starting to realize that now.
The reality is that men would rather work more freely with other men. This only serves to demonstrate how increasingly wary males have become of women throughout time, especially in the last 10 years, and how much they would prefer to communicate and work with other guys. In cubicles, meetings, and boardrooms, they prefer to work with other males rather than women because they can share information, talk about ideas, and organize their schedules together. This is due to their fear.
It's not just that. We have to critique our speech. Sometimes men speak harshly to each other. We say stupid shit. We say, pretty, sometimes racist, sometimes, we're guys. We understand what's going on. But when a woman is in the room and she hears it, she might take it a certain way. She might take it wrongly. This is why there's locker room talk. I'm not trying to defend everything that we talk about in the locker room, but it's just how men are able to communicate without censorship from women.
Fear of losing the career they have worked so hard to build over a long period of time. They may lose everything with just one unfounded accusation. In a society that primarily takes into account and believes what women say, one false charge could end up being the villain. So, don't blame men, Men can see what has happened over the years, especially with the advent of the ME2 movement. They don't want to bear responsibility for something they did not commit. They don't want to lose their jobs, status, and position in society. Just to be clear, men not saying that they are the only ones that are terrified of women here. Women also seem to be hiring fewer women in general. According to the results of the preceding poll, more than 10% of men and women were projected to be less likely than before to hire attractive women. I feel this is the case because in general, people tend to believe attractive people more than those who lack beauty. We can credit popular culture for that.
Yep.
The truth is that the typical attractive modern woman of today is out of reach anyway. In every movie you see, regardless of how recent or how old it is, the lead character is either the most attractive woman or the most attractive man, who is incapable of wrongdoing and who works to uphold justice in society. The evil men and villains are always aged, gorgeous, scarred people who look awful. It should therefore come as no surprise that neither men nor women would want to consider hiring attractive women, because if a woman made a false complaint against a man, everyone would assume that she was telling the truth. Everyone can see a guy trying to flirt with a beautiful woman, since after all, that is how it has always been. Guys find it extremely challenging to deal with the harassment issue. Some people may be accused of harassment for merely making jokes with a coworker. Even in this instance, two male coworkers.
I have been so lucky in my life. I've made a lot of shitty jokes. I've only been in an office setting for about 3 years. None of my female coworkers were like that. So I was very fortunate that I was able to cuss and say all the things I was able to say. I didn't say anything like sexual or anything, but I was just a harsh motherfucker at work. And they were okay with it.
Workers could legitimately be making jokes among themselves without targeting anyone, and they could be condemned for it as harassment. Then, all of a sudden, HR is after them and interrogating them about everything. Men are wary of shaking hands with women out of concern that she could view it as harassment. Avoiding touch altogether would be easier. People's perceptions of acceptable and inappropriate workplace interactions are distorted. The study's thorough debunking of the notion that men lack a clear sense of what constitutes unacceptable behavior, however, is what makes it so intriguing. The first step taken by the researchers was to examine 19 acts and determine whether or not to categorize them as harassment. Sending explicit emails to subordinates is an example of this. Both genders largely agree on what harassment entails, and the majority of men and women, respectively, are aware of what it is. One of the authors of the research told the Harvard Business Review that it is mostly inaccurate to suggest that men don't realize their behavior is inappropriate and that women are making a mountain out of a molehill. If anything, women define harassment more broadly than do males.
Yes.
Most males are able to distinguish between a lovely hug and a wicked one. They are fully aware of what is
We're able to distinguish handshakes and, like pats on the back and things like that. Like I understand you definitely don't want to pat women on the back or touch them in the back anywhere, but I was so used to it when I was young and in a lot of my settings, yeah, you get a pat on the back. And now a man wants to pat a woman, that's almost guaranteed sexual harassment.
considered harassment. On the other hand, from the perspective of a woman, anything is harassment. If a line manager asks a subordinate,
They're making laws where men just staring at women is sexual harassment. Women are just broadly opening up this term of harassment and sexual harassment to such a broad term that anything a man thinks about doing can almost qualify in a woman's definition.
or junior team member to stay late at the office for an hour, she can create a scenario in which she is seen with the manager in the CCTV cameras as he speaks to her and gives her instructions on how to approach a specific project, and she can then essentially fabricate a story about how he was trying to harass her. And you know what? HR would believe the woman.
100%.
It makes sense that males would want to avoid being alone with women in order to avoid any potential problems that could endanger their entire careers. And because they feel left out, women have started to protest about this. They are no longer expected to work harder on projects and finish them in the office's wee hours of the morning. Because they know their professions won't be in jeopardy, people would prefer to ask men to stay late and work with them. Men would rather stay away from the drama and gossip that women bring to office spaces. Women are also left out of the team's private and confidential meetings when important information is exchanged. For instance, if I had to share anything with a coworker in a cramped conference room alone, and I had to go with someone, I'd prefer to pick a man, since I understand that inviting a woman into a confined space might seem odd to others. Not just in America, but also in Europe, England, and other countries, the detrimental repercussions of ME2 are still being felt in the corporate sector. As long as they continue to overreact to the movement and make the sort of unfounded accusations that we regularly see in the media, males will continue to shun working alongside women. Unfortunately, most women bring gossip and drama to the workplace, which is not appropriate.
They bring a lot of drama and a lot of gossip. I've never worked with a woman that has never brought up gossip. And it's not gossip that I don't even care about. It's from like their life and stuff. I'm like, I don't care. I don't need to know about this shit.
And so, with all of this, modern women are somehow angry that men are avoiding
It's
them
our
at
fault.
work. They
It's
don't
our
realize
fault.
why. They don't realize that for a man, his work is everything. It feeds his family and keeps his house running. For a woman to make false allegations to take away that is reason enough for men to avoid women at work altogether. Truth is, men aren't just quiet quitting women at work. They're doing it in real life. Why wouldn't they? Why quietly? Because they have seen men get lacerated publicly for saying what's on their mind.
Correct.
So, they just quietly check out. No one's business but their own. Thanks for watching Man Reacts.
Please subscribe down below. I really appreciate that. And I'll catch you guys next time. Ciao.